and welcome to Missing Mondays, a special Missing Mondays. And there go the dogs. I knew it was coming. They are in a rare mood today. This could be fun, but everyone pull up a seat. We've got an update on a case that I did our first video in February. I think it was February 14th, 15th, somewhere right around Valentine's Day. So pull up a chair. I'm going to grab some treats right now, and we'll be right back.
Aloha and welcome to the Local My Life.
So, what did I discover right before the live? I've been trying to pull out treats and stuff. Oh, you want to choose? Okay. I give them these treats every time. I went behind me on the bed there, and I found all of these sitting there. Someone has been grabbing treats and hoarding them. Needless to say, I think it's Mom, Miss Halpia. Oh, she's coming and getting every one of them back. Okay, this should be fun. Oh my gosh, they're driving me crazy. And Pete is usually so quiet unless she wants food. So I'm thinking, I wonder why you are so hungry, little girl. So welcome, gang. As I mentioned, we got a special update. A lot has gone on in this case. I had been working on this case for a deep dive for a little while now. First time I talked about Alexis was actually last February, as I mentioned. She had just gone missing on January 26th, and I was hearing her story, and it was amazing me because there were so many other cases that were being covered at the time, and hers was not. And I could not understand it for the life of me because her car had been found just sitting out there with keys there, no one in it, and there was no discussion about it going on. So covered it, and I've gone back to it. I know Sleuth covered it a number of times. Annie from 10 to Life covered it once. A lot of people have done that. Cassie, would you please behave? Thank you. Oh my gosh. Never a dull moment. And also, come back together today because not only did a lot of stuff happen over the summer, but actually just in the last couple days. And the story itself for law enforcement is coming to a close. But for the family, it isn't. They're still looking for her. Yes, her remains have been found, but not all of them. She is still needing to come home, and she still needs justice. One of the things we're going to find in this is a very heavy chance that there are other people who knew what happened. They may not have been involved in her death, but they most likely knew what happened. But unfortunately, there's no way of proving that beyond a shadow of a doubt. And we know that is what we have to lean on when it comes to our justice system. That is what tries to keep the right people in prison and the wrong people. Okay, that's what it's all about. So let me first of all, as we get starting with a quick hello to everyone. We had Sleuth in the chat. Sleuth did a great job earlier. I mean, she showed the press conference from this morning. I was so happy about that because I was at a dentist appointment. Also covered about Kaylee. Oh my God, I was so excited about that news. And I know a lot of people are excited about that news. And Miss Princess Megan. Hello, Princess Megan. How you doing, my dear? JP. Hey, JP. Hope your week's going well. I've been thinking about you. And Sherry. Okay, sorry. Yeah. Yes, it's called residual medication from the dentist office. Yeah, I think that's got to be the excuse. Yeah. I got to have a reason for it somewhere. Yeah. And also, let's see, is that yeah, that's everyone we got in chat right now. To everyone who's hanging out in the viewing land, hello. Cassie, you are just a little muckrat right now. So, where are we with this? Let me pull this up and hey, Jingles, welcome, my dear. Welcome, Jingles. Let's start this discussion. A lot of you guys know about this case. Some of you may not. Let me actually ask real quickly. Put a 1 in chat if you know about Alexis's case. Put a 2 if this is a new case to you. Because yes, well, a couple people did cover interview room. Chris has done an amazing job with this case and supporting the family. It still was not like one of the big names that everyone in the world seemed to be covering. So Jingles, we got a 2 there. We got a lot of people with some 1s. Hey Lynn, welcome, my dear. And also, I'm not surprised, Jingles, because it is one of those cases that some people know if you're in watching the right channels and stuff like that. And many people don't. They may follow missing people, but they have never seen her covered. So Alexis actually went missing, as I mentioned, January 26th, earlier this year. It's almost been a year. She was from Oakley, California. Okay. And basically, what I'm going to share with you guys tonight is a timeline that was put together by the police and shared with the family. The family, guys, every time any of us deal with a missing person and talk with their family, our hearts go out to them because we talk about being advocates. They're champions. They are champions beyond any word that we can use, any action we can use. They eat, sleep, breathe. This is their life. Okay. In the case of a parent, this is their life. This is their child. This is what they breathe for. And the Gabe family went to battle for their daughter. Okay, they worked with the police. They tried to stay hand in hand. They pulled in other law enforcement. Okay, they really worked together to get to the point where she could come home. Hey, Rebellious Rose. One of the things I talk all the time about, okay, this is a Filipino family coming from Hawaii. My sister-in-law is Filipino. One of the most important things for us is being able to spend time with our loved ones that we've lost. It is not abnormal for us on a weekend to pack up a picnic and go to hey Mitra, go over to and Burden, hello Burden, head over to the cemetery and we lay out the picnic. We sit there, okay, drink a beer, have some dinner, talk story. We're still there having dinner with our loved ones when they've gone. But the problem was when you've got a family member who goes missing like this, you are not given that ability to do that. And finding her was key to this. And again, like I said, I'm so happy that they've been able to find some of her remains. I hate using the word some of because every time I say that, I want to blow up because the fact I'm having to say some of means someone did something that murder alone is bad enough, but to do the next step of separating parts of the body and disposing in different areas and all that, that takes a totally different type of evil. Okay. And it's hard for me to every time I have to say, okay, that it's hard enough to say remains. And but her case is one that's important for many of us to talk about. We talk about DV. Okay, and this is a case that can be connected in with DV. Were there issues with DV? No, there had never been any TROs available there. The Gabe family loved Marshall. Marshall would come over to their house, spend time with them, things like that. And, but there's always stuff that's going on behind the scenes, things we don't know. The picture you're seeing there, the drawing there of a woman who looks like she's on her hands and knees, that's actually a picture that Alexis drew. Oh, wow, Rebellious Rose, thank you. Well, thank you. She's always it's the Filipino connection. She disappeared 2 days before my birthday. Just happy her family's getting some closure, but justice still needs to happen. Justice still needs to happen. And it's a hard case now because people are limited because of things that happen that we're going to go through as we go through this timeline. But I did want to mention this drawing. That's a drawing. One of the greatest things about Alexis was her artistic ability. She was an artist. She could draw. She was amazing. Rebellious Rose just said they were in the art class together that she did that picture. See, she had art. Art in general has a way of telling us something that many times our words can't say. Okay, I'm in theater. Okay, and a lot of times people will write plays and stuff like that, and they're letting out their inner emotions. What you're seeing there is my suspicion, her letting out her inner emotions. You can't help but see that when you see a picture like that being drawn. And I wanted to include that because it was one of those things that just hit me the moment I saw that. Um, so she went missing initially in January. Now, what I want to do here is we are going to go through, I've got tons of slides here, and we're going to go through the timeline that was given to the family. For those of you who don't know her case, this should give you guys a really good rundown. And we'll see where we go from there. So everything started January 26th. That was the last day anyone saw Alexis alive. Around 6 p.m. that night, okay, and we're talking California, Alexis's friend stated she was on a FaceTime call with Alexis. Okay, during that time, Alexis seemed to be in her car in a parking lot, and they were talking. Okay, this was right around 6 p.m. Okay, definitely connects them all together. Nothing major about any concerns or anything at that time. However, at 6:22 p.m., Alexis pulled into the Chevron at 5591 Lone Tree Way. So this is a picture of what it looks. It's a little shopping area that has that as well as other areas nearby. And she stopped in, got herself, okay, she was there, 7 minutes? And then left the Chevron. Now, one of the things that I can tell you in reading all of this timeline is, gang, these devices truly, they're not just, I joked the other day, someone said, what do you call this? And they were trying to make a point. And I said, my best friend. And yeah, that's exactly what it is. But in this case, her phone, Marshall's phone, is telling her story. Okay, it's not just a piece of technology. These phones have become storytellers. They're telling what happened that day and the days after that. So, um, all of these information I'm sharing right now. Okay, this one comes from her cell phone records. She also had an Infinity. We're going to hear about the Infinity a number of times. The Infinity has GPS on it and was able to track a lot of the movements that were going on. And it did show her at that time. Now, oh yeah, Sleuth Mom, thank God for technology advancements. Take a look at the other day, we had a case in Texas, Amber Alert. The vehicle was an older vehicle. There was no way to track it. Now we have so many more capabilities thanks to technology. And so definitely Sleuth Mom, thank God for technology advance. Okay, around 6:37 now, so she finished getting her gas, and then she took the drive from the gas station to her ex-boyfriend's house. So Marshall Curtis Jones. Marshall's going to be the next name that you're going to get to hear quite a bit. He is the one that was being arrested actually for her murder. And we will go into what happened with him. I have a little map here to kind of give you an idea exactly about the traffic for her. Okay, getting there, getting into Bent Tree Way. At 6:37 and 30 seconds, her car turned off. Her phone stayed on and active, showing she stayed in the area. We all know how that goes. We get home, our phone's off, it's tracking us. It still is tracking, and we know exactly where we are at that time. So she's now in his house, most likely at this point. 6:37 on, hanging at his house, for the next couple hours. We don't know what happened during this time. Okay, police have said now they do not think she ever left his house alive. So between then 6:37 and 9:10 p.m., something happened. An argument, whatever it was, something happened. At 9:10 and 24 seconds, now we are starting to track Marshall's phone. Marshall made a phone call to his father. During that phone call, okay, not a short, hey, how you dad type thing. This was a long call, 1 hour, 9 minutes. Okay, sat on the phone, and then at 9:20, okay, his device logged the last lift to wake. So what is a lift to wake? Lift to wake is when you pick up your phone and, you know, like mine just did, it turns itself on like that. That's what your lift to wake is. At 9:23 and 59 seconds, Alexis's Infiniti is turned on and begins to move. So initially people would think she got in the car and she left. That's what he was hoping people would believe. Okay, her phone is in the vehicle with her. Okay, or whoever is driving. The phone is in the vehicle. The vehicle passes several cameras while moving. Okay, now, cameras. Huge, huge help with these cameras. What is slowly being discovered during this time is this is not Alexis driving the vehicle. This is Marshall, the man that you're looking at here on this picture, driving her vehicle. Her car has her phone in it. Okay. At 9:35, the Infiniti turns off. Sorry, typo there. Turns off after being parked on the curb on Trenton Street. The driver then exits and begins walking. Okay, he's walking down Neroli. Sorry, let me go over to here so I can read a little better with my extra notes. Okay, he gets off and he starts, at this point, a long walk. Okay, lots of turns, lots of all sorts of different things going on here. So he gets off at this time, 9:35 p.m., okay, exits the vehicle, walks northbound on Neroli Road. No other person was exiting the car at the same time. So, gang, these are some of the things they're looking at. Okay, when the car was driving, before he got out, they were able to track every single turn he made. Okay, to give you an idea of the turns, this is before he even got out of the car. Okay, the Infiniti passed several cameras during its travel. It drove out to Lone Tree Way and turned eastbound. The Infiniti then turned south on Jeffrey Way and got onto westbound SR4. The Infiniti exited onto Laurel Drive and drove eastbound on Laurel Drive, okay, onto Live Oak Avenue. It made the northbound turn on Live Oak Avenue. So, I mean, they're tracking this. I mean, they've got this down. Okay, turn by turn by turn by turn. Gang, how many turns this guy did? I'll be honest. Those of you guys in Sleuth Mom's chat knows what I was dealing with this. I was trying to go on to Google and Google Maps and draw a map out. This guy made so many different turns in the vehicle that you could not even track it using Google. Okay, they only allow you to do 10 turns. This guy went beyond that. Thank you so much, Rebellious Rose. And so during this whole time, you've got cameras checking, okay, being able to look. You've got Okay, on the way back, we're going to talk about it. Okay, stores with cameras that you can check, CCTV, things like that. Okay, on this way out, no one else was in the vehicle, just Marshall. So as he gets out of the car at 9:35, he gets out, verified, no one else in the car, no one laying in the, okay, because if someone was just laying back, okay, sleeping or something, they would have gotten out of the car at the same time, you would have thought, yeah. And no one exited the car at all. However, when he got out of the car, Alexis's phone got out of the car at the same time. No Alexis, but he had her phone on his body at this time. So there's our next, okay, 9:39. At 9:39, surveillance cameras at Oakley Road and Belden Lane caught him passing that location. So this is, guys, here we have this person. We talk all the time when we can't find a body. How can you get a conviction when you don't have things like that? Well, this is very, very important, just this information. You're tracking things. You're getting cameras matching phones, matching all these different things together. Okay, police were able to put together a whole case which was leading to his arrest. So around 9:43, a few minutes later, okay, he's continuing to walk down, okay, Belden Lane and all. Alexis's phone stops transmitting any data. Okay, the thought here is that he turned her phone off. He realized somehow, or for some reason realized, oh shoot, I need to turn this phone off. So he turned the phone off. Okay, but at that time it was going on the same road as where he was. And so I love listening to you guys talk in here. By the way, I love our Sherry. She's awesome. And we've got a great group of people who are all so dedicated. I mean, everyone. Okay, half of them are sitting here in this chat right now, and all amazing people. Okay, so this continues, okay, about 20 odd minutes later. Surveillance videos, CCTV shows the presumed driver, okay, at Live Oak Road and Neroli Road. In a second, I think I included a picture of him walking during this. Okay, and you can actually see, looks like, okay, you can definitely see it's one more thing to add into all of these different pieces of evidence. The video then shows the person continuing on Live Oak Road, crossing Neroli Road, and continuing under the Laurel overpass. Okay, so let's see here. Here we go. So we can kind of take a look around here. So this is as he's walking around 10:37. Video, there's a huge shopping area. Okay, Slatton Ranch Shopping Center. It looks like it backs up to the highway and the overpass and all that we're talking about. So during this time, they can recognize from his phone and all that he is walking along the paved footpath that is behind that shopping center. So what I've got here, if you look at the picture on the left, you can see the highway on the far left side of the picture. You can see the stores, the Slatton Ranch Shopping Center on the right. And the arrow is showing which direction this person is walking. If you look on the right, you can actually see the little footpath, which is right on the right side of that little fence there. And he is walking in the direction of the arrows. So around 10:43, so we are talking, let's see, 10:37 to 10:43. He is coming through that area. Okay, and video from Chase Bank. All of us know certain stores are always going to have CCTV. Definitely. Shows that driver, that same person we keep seeing over and over and over, walking across Lone Tree Way and continuing on the sidewalk of Lone Tree Way. So he's going down through there, and then now you're into a shopping area. The shopping area is where so much, okay, you can catch camera after camera after camera. Okay, many people could actually see him, things like that. Um, at that point, there's video from the Chevron. If you're looking at the picture in front of you here, the chevron is that, if I remember this correctly, the chevron is right there on the corner. Okay, and you can see with the little balloon thing. Camera shows that. It continues showing him walking westbound through the shopping center. Okay, every time you walk by, think about every time you go to the mall. Okay, every time you walk by a store, there's the chance that that store has CCTV pointing outside. That way, because if someone steals something, you get shoplifting, they want to catch the person leaving the store. So you've got the potential of all these cameras. And that's what happened. Okay, cameras kept catching him. You first of all, chevron. Then you had the in and out showing him walking through the parking lot. Around 11 o'clock, it shows him walking, okay, from Vista Grand Drive, Bentry Way, okay, and walking westbound onto Cedar Point Way. He really didn't sleuth mom. He did not think about this. And see, my thing is this. Dang, he spent an hour talking to his father. Okay, first of all, what was that discussion about? Number one. Okay, I have a hard time believing right after you potentially killed someone, you're calling up to talk to people and just ask them, so how was your day today? And things like, no, does not make sense. Okay, there was way too many different things. Did not think it out, and it gets worse and worse as we go through this. You recognize there was no thinking of any of this out. And so at 11 o'clock, his phone shows in-call service application ended. Okay, his phone backlight and all usage logs begin logging data again. So during a lot of this time that I just talked about, his phone was in that area where it wasn't active. It was just kind of logging things in the background, things that we don't realize it's doing most of the time. Okay, he was just, okay, following him and all that. But at this point, backlight turned off. Okay, all things began logging data in a normal way. So things were starting to wake up on his phone again. During all this time, he was not on his phone much, but at this point, he started activating it again. From 9:20, so basically from 9:20 that night, from the moment he hung up the phone with his dad to 11:09, okay, so over 2 hours, his phone was extremely limited, the use, as compared to the rest of the day. If you look at your phone throughout the day, there are certain times you're more busy, okay, and it can track it. If you're at work, chances are your phone has very little usage. You're not looking at apps. You're not checking text messages that come through, your Discords, your all these different things that are going on. Well, he may not do Discord and all that, but he has other things that he would normally do on a normal day. That was not happening during this 2 hour time period. And Rebellious Rose, we think he wasn't really talking to his dad at all. Okay, there's a couple areas in this timeline that I've tried to, things don't quite mesh. And I do need to let you guys know, one of the things that the police do when they put this out, they don't have everything in it because they don't know what will come of the investigation. There still could be other people involved in this. Yes, they've closed the case right now, but that doesn't mean the case can't be reopened if something is discovered someday. And due to that, they cannot share all the information. So sometimes you get something and you're like, wait, something doesn't mesh here. What is it? And most likely there's more there we just don't know about. So that makes sense, actually, Rebellious Rose. It really does. We think he made that call to look like he was on the phone talking, but wasn't. That could very well be. That could very, very well be. One thing for sure, this guy is extremely close to his family. Okay. Which we see as time goes on with who he stays with, where he goes, things like that. Um, so yeah, it could very well be. It'd be you wish our phones were able to recognize being on the phone active versus just having it on, okay, and no talking. You really wish there was some way of doing something like that. They definitely left things out of the timeline, but yet, but it seems as though he thought he could use it to say he never left the house. Exactly. Okay, the thing is, many of us don't really understand how our phones work. We think we do, but we really don't. Okay, as long as we get the things done that we want done, that's what matters. So at 11:16 p.m., Marshall sent an iMessage to Alexis. So he sent a text message, Apple text message, to Alexis saying, "Did you make it home?" So here we are, supposedly 2 hours after he made phone calls to his dad or whatever. And he makes the decision to send something to Alexis and ask if she made it home. Do we know, is that a normal behavior for him? We don't know that. Okay, was this like the one time he ever asked this question? We don't know. But it is interesting he does that. And then 30 minutes later, to the dot, guys. Look at this. 11:16, not 30, 15. Okay, 15 minutes later, 11:16 and 36 seconds, 11:36 and 36 seconds. Okay, he now makes a phone call, almost as if he's like, okay, text message, and then I'll call 15 minutes later, and then it'll look. So, is it an assumption? Oh, yeah, it's an assumption. Okay, heck, when my mom goes missing for a few minutes because she's out shopping, a lot of times I'll say, okay, if I don't hear back in 30 minutes, I'll call back again. So yeah, it's possible, but it is very interesting. Okay, yeah, Sleuth, there's a good point there. If he wasn't talking to Dad, who was on the other end of the phone? Very good point. Very good point there. So he makes the phone call 15 minutes later, which of course goes unanswered at that time. Now, we go through the whole night. Alexis is an adult. We're not talking a teenager or anything like that. Hey, PJ, love you, my dear. And so like any adult, you've got certain schedules. It's not like they're going to be like, oh, it's 10 o'clock. Alexis isn't home. No. Okay, it becomes the next morning. They go through the night, and at 8:15 the following morning, January 27th, Rowena Gabe, her mom, which, by the way, before we go any further, I want to send out extra. My heart. It's hard enough going through what they're going through as a family right now, but Rowena has recently lost her father. Rowena is currently in the Philippines after her father passed away. So, thoughts, prayers, support, um, community gives you strength. Family, Ohana gives you strength. And my, there's honestly no words. How she's getting through this, I don't know. But if prayers, and I do believe prayers help, they're being sent out right now. So people can say a special prayer to the whole family on that case. Um, he wanted to stay here. Let's see, rebellious. He wanted to establish he was at his house by messaging her as soon as he got back. Yes. He thought the call to his dad, followed by a text to Alexis, made him look like he never left. Yes, definitely. He had just been sitting around the house for 2 hours, and then yeah, exactly. See, come here, baby girl. And so mom sends a message, calls up Marshall saying, you know what? Did you see Alexis the day before? She's getting a little concerned at this point because she has not heard from Alexis. So she makes the phone call, and his response is that she was at his house that night. Okay, so she's not there. He's starting another set of stories with the family at this point. I've included the text messages between Rowena and him, where he was trying to set all that up. You can see here with the 822 message, okay, that's mentioned here. It's right there for everyone to see. She sent a text to him asking, when did she leave? Okay, so it's like, hi, Marshall, what time she left in your house? And he said, around 9. I thought she might have been with Rhea. Did you call her? I don't have her number. Do you have her number? Okay, and then I don't. I'm at work, but I'll keep trying to call her. Can you let me know if you hear from her? I will. Thanks, Marshall. And then later, Thursday it looks like here. Okay, a little later, we get another message. Have you heard from her? So he's now continuing this whole trying to build his story. He knows family is looking at this point. You can just think about what's going through his head at this point. And as he's trying to figure out how to get the story to go through. At 109, at that point, the family decide, okay, the family has called, they've reported Alexis missing, and Oakley is now able to start their missing persons investigation. Okay, family goes out searching, everyone's looking for things, trying to find out what is out there. Everyone's searching everywhere, and at around 4:15 p.m., someone found Alexis's Infinity located, okay, one of the family members on Trenton Lane. Okay, what was scary about this, and one of the things, big flags that popped up for me, and was something so different from what I normally hear about when I first heard this case, was the whole fact that the keys were still in the ignition, the engine was off, doors were closed, but unlocked. It got That alone was enough to get me thinking, oh my God, we've got major red flags going on. Okay, not only is this girl missing, but her vehicle is just parked by the side of the road like this. Car keys are there. Why would anyone leave their car keys? Okay, hey, Red Rock. And also, let me see here, Rebellious. They were broken up at this time. Yes. So weird why she would have gone to his house to begin with. Yes. This was her ex-boyfriend. So why was she going over there? What was going on at that time? And oh yeah, those glorious pings. People do not realize those pings are going to get you every time. And so family has now found her car. They've recognized her car, and they're starting in on this other area. They all decide, okay, this is not just normal at this point. There's major concerns going on with this. Let me give someone a Cheeto. That might make her even happier. And at around 4:25, okay, mom and dad, okay, who are quarantined again. Remember, this is COVID time. If you were COVID positive, you stayed at home. Okay, you didn't come out of your house. Okay, they were at that time quarantined due to COVID. But when they started seeing things like this happening, they made the decision they needed to go see this vehicle. This is her vehicle right here for you to look at. When they got there, they asked Marcus, family member Marcus, to open the trunk. This moment here is hard to think about, much less when I typed it out. Could you see a mom and dad who are sitting here looking at their daughter's car? Keys are in the ignition. They know their daughter's been missing for hours now. And the trunk is closed. They have to make the decision. Someone's got to look in that trunk. And that's what they did. They asked Marcus to do that. I'm hoping I'm saying his name wrong. Right. I'm hoping. Um, her body was not in there. But those moments of having to run and worry about that had to just be horrible. Thank you so much, Rebellious Rose. No, thank you so much for coming in and sharing some of your information, because it's really helpful to have other ideas going on here. So, um, and please come back anytime. So 425, they recognize that. Around 507, Oakley Police Department contacts Marshall. Okay, at this point, they're asking, trying to figure out what's going on with Marshall, what's going on with Alexis, trying to start connecting things. I think you're right, Sherry, right there. I think he was hoping, with doors being unlocked, with car keys being right there, it'd be a perfect car to have stolen and stuff like that. I'm positive he thought that's what would happen. Okay, and it did. Okay, it did not. And I agree, Sleuth. We love our lurkers here. So police start talking to him, and he does admit at that time that Alexis was at his house at that time. However, she left at around 9 p.m. Okay. He then goes on further saying that, oh, but I think she was going over to her friend's house on Trenton Lane. Problem with this story here, that friend was not in town at the time, and Alexis would have known that. So, another red flag immediately. And immediately right there. And sorry, dogs are really getting old. Come on, babies. Come on down here. So around 11:41 that night, okay, police are out canvassing, looking around, trying to figure out what's going on, and they run into Marshall. Okay, just happened to come across Marshall. While they were doing that, they asked him at that moment, okay, could we have your phone? And can we have conditional consent to search your house? He, to begin with, he said, yeah, you can come look at the house, no problem. And no problem, PJ. Come on over, look at the house. Sorry, let me get this puppy and put her back here. And come on over, look in the house. Interestingly, very interestingly, in my eyes, he was like, oh, yeah, you're allowed to go anywhere, but you cannot go into this room and this room. You cannot go into the spare bedroom or the master bedroom. Seriously, gang, if one of your loved ones is missing and police are coming in asking to look in your house, why are you putting limitations on stuff like that? And but he allowed them to look everywhere else, and they did do that. Found things between this and future areas. They were able to find a number of different things. He did also give them consent for a forensic download of his cell phone. Bingo, right there. More than anything else, that download of his cell phone became integral for knowing what happened, for telling her story. We talk about it all the time on this channel, that together we can be their voice. Well, his phone was her voice this time. He then, after he gave the phone over to them so that they could do all their downloads and all that, he left and presumably went back to work to retrieve his personal car at that time. Okay. The question came up, was there a search warrant or anything during this time? And the answer was, there was no search warrant at this time. Okay, that's why they couldn't go into the other rooms and all. And the reason for this is there really was no probable cause of a crime. If you look at it, all we really had at that time was that she was missing, her car was found, and that was it. And she had been at his house. They didn't have all the cameras or anything like that. So, it does make sense why they did not have that at that time. Around 1:21 p.m., Marshall arrives at his mother's house. Now this is a huge area that even now, and with trying to get justice for Alexis, this is an important piece of information here. He drove a friend's vehicle, Leslie Clark's Ford Explorer, into the driveway. When he got there was motion activated video, which was recording in 30-second clips. You know how a lot of our things outside of our house does. So bits and pieces of his actions were caught. What was caught was him unloading several large, heavy, you can tell heavy by how hard it is to pick up, okay, and how much someone strains, okay, heavy black garbage bags. And he went and loaded those into either the backyard or garage, okay. Other things later on was reported that there was a DNA profile of hers found in the back of his vehicle. They can't say it wasn't necessarily blood, it was just the DNA profile showing that she had been in the back of his vehicle. So, now Marshall got his phone back later. Okay, we're on to January 28th at this point. Hey, Elizabeth, my dear. Oh, treat time for kitties. And the little guy is back in his pouch. Oh, so yeah, this Alexis needs her family, and she needs justice. And she still needs to come home. Okay, yes, I know she's been found, but not all of her's been found. And family's not going to give up on that. And so Marshall got his phone back on the 28th from Oakley Police Department and returned to his mom's house. So at this time, he's hanging out at his mom's house. He also obtained a new phone and phone number from Metro PCS at 5:03 p.m. that day, which I personally found interesting. Why would anyone obtain a new phone? It's not like his phone wasn't working. It's just the police asked to use it for a few hours to download stuff. I mean, why would you be worried and go and get a second phone or anything like that after you already gotten your phone? Again, red flags. And according to the Gabe family, Marshall did loaded the garbage bags back into Leslie Clark's Ford Explorer while his mother was hosting a karaoke party at her house. So he gets to her house earlier, unloads the bags from the car. Later, loads them back into the car. Why did they have to leave the car? If it was just bags, okay, say there were bags of junk or whatever like that, why would you empty them out of the vehicle and then put them back in the vehicle later? Okay, more red flags, gang. Can't see, yeah, don't exactly, Elizabeth. It amazes me people don't realize that everything can be tracking. Around 6:41 p.m., Marshall took off at that time after loading up his vehicle, okay, and heading out. He headed to, hello, JP, hey. He headed to his sister's house in Vacaville, California. Now, he arrived at her house at 6:41, stayed there for a little while, maybe about 30 minutes, a little less than 30 minutes. At 7:11, he left her house. Okay, at that point, both phones are with him. Okay, both phones. Okay, one was powered off at 6:40 p.m. Okay, right when he arrived at his sister's house. The second one was powered off right as he left his sister's house. So something to remember there. The picture you're looking at there is actually his mother, and we will talk a little bit about that a little later. There we go. Okay, now What you're looking at right now actually was not found until a little later, but this is when it would have come into play in what happened. Okay, later on, and let me pull them up here because it's easier for me to read here. Okay, later on, the police, okay, when they were searching his sister's house, they came across this 2-page document. Okay, handwritten document, okay, with directions, basically looking like Google okay, directions, okay. Left on Foxborough Main Road, Peabody Road, right turn, 10-minute drive, 15 minutes, left turn, Cliff. Looks like he literally went to Google, pulled up directions, and wrote all the directions out. Why? Why would someone go to all the work of writing this out? That's a lot of handwriting. Okay, especially in this day and age where everything's typewritten. That's a lot of handwriting, especially when you could open up your phone and turn on Waze or Google Maps or something like that. He was getting directions for something at that point. Okay, what turns out, what most people think is it was directions towards where he planned on disposing of Alexis's body. He knew he could not have his phone on at this point because the day before, police surprised him with this thing. Oh, we need to download your phone. Do you mind? So he didn't trust anything at this point with phones. So he was like, okay, I got to write all this stuff out so that I can make sure that I can go get rid of any evidence and know exactly where I'm going. Okay. So that's what this is. This, again, like I said, was found during a search warrant search of his sister's house a little while later. So, so on that day around 8:52 p.m., okay, he, remember, as he's leaving his sister's house, he turned off his phone. Both phones are now turned off. Both of them are now turned off. Around 8:52, it is noticed that he turns on his phone briefly, ever so briefly, while in the area of Bradshaw Road and Jackson Road. Okay, now I've got a picture of that intersection right here. Why is this important? Well, first of all, they were able to verify. They saw a vehicle. Okay, there was a gas station there, and they're able to see from the gas station a vehicle pulling up at that time out on the main road that looks just like his vehicle. So they're able now connect it in two ways. Why is it so important? Well, according to law enforcement at this time, law enforcement states that 8 different vehicles, okay, they all took these directions and they followed them to make sure. Okay, what happens when you follow these directions? Don't just do it on Google, but follow them. All 8 of the vehicles missed the Watt Avenue exit while trying to follow these directions as written down. Okay, they all were following them towards Pioneer and ended up exiting the wrong area, okay, and then had to, okay, figure out what was going on. They think he did the same thing as all 8 of the other police officers, all of the other law enforcement who tried to follow his handwritten directions. And what happened is what most of us would do if we get lost. Okay, you think you know directions and you realize, oh shit, what am I doing wrong now? What do? You boot up your phone real quick to find out what's going on. Okay, I got it. That's what I did wrong. Turn it off. Okay, bingo. That is what they think he did. He turned on his phone really quick at 8:52 p.m. to reorient himself to figure out what he was doing wrong with all this. Okay, JP, I understand. There's a lot with this case. A lot with this case. And so let's see here. So January 29th now. Now we're a couple days later, around 12:43 p.m. Okay, Marshall turned his phone on while in the area. Okay, SR-12, SR-160. Okay, and he traveled to Antioch. Around 1 p.m., he arrives at his mom's house. Around 2:41 in the morning, he arrives at his sister's house. So he's moving himself around just to make it easier for everyone. Okay, trying to catch what's going on here. He's running around. He's trying to basically what he just did is he got rid of her body. He took these directions. He drove out towards Pioneer and all, got rid of her body, and now he's coming back and he's trying to get his story going back together. Okay, headed over to his mom's house, then sister's house. The next day, he calls in sick to work, telling his boss that he has something he has to take care of. This is something we've seen before many times. Those of you who remember Ariel's case, okay, her adoptive dad, okay, called in sick saying he had COVID. Okay, there's pretty common behavior that happens at that point. Next day, Marshall's sister, remember he's at his sister's house. She kicks him out of his house. Okay, out of her house. Surveillance video shows him carrying an extended firearm magazine, and it is thought he had a firearm on him the whole time he was at his sister's. So lots of little pieces of information that start coming together from all of this sent by the police. They definitely know he had access to firearms during this time. Okay, the video definitely shows, hey, Nicole, that he was carrying an extended firearm magazine. So now they are, again, you got to realize when the police are trying to put all this together, they don't have a body at this time. They don't have a cause of death. They have a missing person, and they're trying to figure out what is going on so that they can arrest someone. And exactly, Elizabeth. Unfortunately, he was killed in Seattle by police when, okay, we're going to get to that in a second, when they came to arrest him and he lunged at them with a knife. So, also, Oakley and Contra Costa law enforcement located a cell phone screen which had been broken and separated from the device. This became extremely important. Not at that time. They did not have the information to recognize how important it was at the time. But later on, it became very important because they recognized Marshall's DNA was on that screen. Okay, they were in May. They collected his DNA surreptitiously and were able to figure that out. So now they're recognizing they have found her cell phone screen, and it has his DNA on it. So February 1st. So remember, he's been kicked out of his sister's house. Okay, interestingly, he doesn't ever seem to live over at his house much after this. Okay, seems to be on the run pretty heavily after that point. On February 1st, Marshall is back at his mom's, and while he's at his mom's house, he is seen with a firearm again. Also, Oakley Police Department, Antioch Police Department, okay, and all other investigators, DA, and all that, executed a search warrant at his house on Bentry. Now they finally have enough information. They can go get all this, find out what they can find out. Now, by the end, one of the bits of information that came out in today's press conference is during the course of this investigation, they ended up executing 60 different search warrants. So, gang, when we talk about cases with the police and we don't hear a lot of information, they're working. They just can't share a lot of this information with us a lot of times. Yes, there are cases where they're not doing what they should be. But 60 search warrants in this case is just amazing to hear they're following up on all this information like this. So during this search, okay, they used luminol throughout the house just to look for any blood. Okay, they're trying to figure out what happened. 60 seems like a lot. In fact, I had to go back into I agree with you, Elizabeth, seemed huge number to me. I think some of that is because there's multiple houses being involved in this and things like that. Um, I actually had to go back and listen to it just to make sure I was hearing that number correctly. I was like, was it 16? Was it? They said 60, which was really, really, yeah, seemed very, I don't want to say excessive because there had to be a reason for every one of those. Oh, thanks, PJ. Thank you. Yeah, it gets in my way at times, but yes. Oh, thanks, my dear. So the luminol was used in the house, and at the time of writing this, okay, I just realized we were given a little bit more information today, actually. Um, During the search, there was a small reaction on the inside lid of the washer. Okay, okay, and a small sample was collected and later found to have Alexis's DNA. Okay, there was also discussion of it being found on the door. I think it was to the bathroom. That when they sprayed the bathroom door, almost positive, don't quote me on the bathroom door bit, um, that there was, a major reaction there. Okay, if that information that I'm getting is correct. Um, his car was then also seized. This is when they recognized that there was DNA of Alexis's in the vehicle. However, they could not be totally sure the source of that DNA. Was it because she took took her jacket and threw it into the back at some time? We don't know. Okay, but there was DNA there. Okay, in the back. Hey, AJ. Thank you, JP. Guys, thank you so much. And hi, though, AJ. It was also noted the shower curtains in the bathroom were missing. Okay, another huge red flag in my eyes there. Okay, I mean, why? Why would those things go missing all of a sudden? Okay, we also know, for example, they found some of her DNA on the washer. Okay, not sure if they mean washing machine or washer. It just okay, or dishwasher, but could go on different ways there. So February 2nd. So he's been staying at his mom's house this whole time. On February 2nd, Marshall makes a decision to leave California. Okay. Interestingly, that falls exactly one day after he recognizes they are looking at his house. Okay, he picks up, flies from California to Washington, and at that point starts staying with his father. At the airport, you have surveillance video of him going there. No one else was seen with him at the airport. It was just him. Yes, Anitra, the number of red flags in this case, gang, is just, you can understand why the police were like, okay, we have enough to go on this now. We have enough. The next day, Oakley police and Antioch police executed a search warrant of Marshall's mom's house. Okay, we know he stayed at his mom's house for a couple days. Could be tons of evidence there. Okay, lots of different potentials of things there. So they did that at that point. Oopsie, sorry. There we go. They also, okay, so that was the 3rd. 20 days later, the police executed a search warrant of his sister's house. So remember, he went over to his mom's house for a couple hours, then went to his sister's, then came to his mom's. Okay, he was at his sister's for a while. That's where they have the video of him with the extended magazine and all. While they were looking through her house is when they came up with that handwritten directions. Okay, the directions to Pioneer. So at this point, their case is definitely getting much more closed. They're really getting a good idea what's going on. They still don't know how he may have done it. Okay, because of course we don't have a body at the time. And but now they are given the additional information of the possibility of knowing where he may have taken her remains. Okay, at that point, hey Kai Mojo, welcome my dear. Um they've got multiple teams out looking. They had canine teams, Contra Costa County search and rescue dive teams. A little later on, they actually do drain a couple areas of water. Amador County search rescue teams, dive teams, CHP helicopter, FBI was involved, sonar specialists. Gang, one of the things I love about this case, okay, is that the community came together. Okay, the law enforcement was community. They came together. Okay, the class foundation, everyone came together to try to find Alexis. Okay, people were there supporting, like I said, interview room, Chris, he was there. Everyone was there trying to help the family out, and it was wonderful, wonderful to see all that happen. And 2 days later, as I mentioned, Class Kids Foundation was involved in this case. They were going through. Good night, JP. Sleep well, my dear. Hey, Marcy, who did I just see someone come in? Hey, 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 my dear. Um, so on 2 days later, Class Kids Foundation was doing a lot of the helping with searching. By the way, during the press conference today, her dad was thanking everyone. And if I recall the number off the top of my head, they said there was over 300 people had volunteered and come out to help with the searches. Okay, Mark Class is exactly Elizabeth. Mark Class, people who take their own stories of that no one should have to go through and they turn it into these positive things. I mean, it's just your heart goes out to him and his whole family. And they deal every single day helping family members who are going through what they went through. And all. So, okay, sounds great, AJ. Okay, not good night, but we'll know you're there. But yeah, gotcha. Gotcha, my dear. And also, during one of the searches on February 25th, okay, one of the volunteers from Class Kids found Alexis's hand-drawn cell phone case. Okay, now we talked about earlier, Alexis was an amazing artist. And this case was specific to her. You're looking at a picture of it there. Okay, it was a hand drawn by her. No one else had that. So when they found it, immediately, it's them. Okay, it's hers. So it was found in Vista Grand Drive, Bentry Way area. Alexis and Marshall's DNA was found on the cell phone. Again, after May 11th, after they had DNA from Marshall and all, they were able to find out that, yeah, both of their DNA was there. A couple weeks later, first birthday goes by, okay, without Alexis at her family's house. Alexis's birthday, with that family had to celebrate a birthday without their little girl. Um, and that is, yeah, that was hard. That was hard when you see family having to deal with that. And every holiday, it's just the reminder, gang, that when someone loses someone that's close to them, especially when they don't know where that person is, every holiday changes. Every Mother's Day, every Father's Day is changed, all because of the actions of one person. And nothing ever is the same. And so, um, so yeah, she had her first birthday celebrated since then. Now, between April 1st and April 5th. Okay. Oakley Police Department obtained a search warrant to drain an 8 million gallon pond. Um, Canines were alerting in the area. There were some weird sonar things going on, so they made the decision they needed to drain it. Unfortunately, after draining, they did not find anything, but they tried. They tried. Also, new information did come out today during the press conference that on April 25th, law enforcement began wiretapping Marshall's phone. So um, for 30 days, they were able to follow what was going on in with his phone, conversations, things like that. Big important thing was the pings. Was he leaving the Seattle area? Was he leaving all those areas? What was he doing? Stuff like that for 30 days. Um, on May 19th. Now, this is the part that has many of us who've been following this case frustrated. It reminds me in many ways of Brian Laundrie and his parents. Um, your gut says, no matter what, and you guys know me, I don't like assumptions. I don't like assumptions and doing those things. But when you follow things, you just have this feeling, what are the chances, all these things going on and things like that. Um, there was a very strong belief by the police that Alicia Coleman Clark, Marshall's mom, was aiding and abetting during all this. That she knew what had happened and was helping her son hide everything. Okay, whether it is hiding after he had already gotten rid of her. Did she know what was in those bags when they got brought into her house and then taken out the next day? Just so many things that's going on. And yeah, it just reminds me of the laundries where people are like, did they know things? Okay, it just feels like yes. And so in this case, they tried to put together a case for aiding and abetting, and they arrested and charged her, okay, with it in Oakley. However, she was released because the DA did not feel they had enough evidence to file charges. Again, like I said, one of the things about our legal system is we are innocent until proven guilty. You have to make a case. Sometimes you're unable to make the case, and yes, that person may have been guilty, but you have to follow the rules because in the overarching case, they work. A couple people do slip by, and I have a gut feeling probably did here in this case, but none of us know for sure. Sorry, but none of us really do. Can they refile? Yes, from everything I'm understanding, unless anything changed today. I don't see why they could not. I know initially they said if further information came out later down the road, they could. There definitely was a feeling that the family was not really trying to help the case whatsoever. They were not answering questions and stuff like that. Um, so yeah, I'm thinking they could, and that's why, to me, justice for her, that's still a possibility at some time. We never know what's going to happen. We don't know if one person happens to know something, and you know what, their heart and their morals and their ethics just get to them, and they can't handle that little thing going on in the back of their mind, making them think, you know what I'm doing is wrong, and I need to help another family have peace. What I did was wrong, or what so and so did was wrong, and they can speak up. But that's only something people can answer for themselves. And um, so she was released at that point and has stayed released, and the case itself has been closed. Okay, can it reopen? I would suspect yes, but I'm not 110%. I'm like 99% sure on that. So June 1st. Okay, around 5:45. This is when justice got thrown in the air, turned upside down, and everything. Around 5:45 p.m., a Seattle task force had gotten word all this stuff was coming together, and there was enough information to arrest Marshall Curtis Jones and charge him for the murder of Alexis. So the Seattle task force arrives at the apartment he's staying at and tries to connect with him and arrest him. He comes out, and sorry, I was going to have video for this, and I just realized I forgot it, but you can find it online. He came out with a knife, and when he came out with a knife, the police opened fire and they shot and killed him. In that moment of him making a decision to pretty much unalive himself, he couldn't do it himself, so he had someone else do it for him. Sorry, I get upset at that, but I do. And Alexis was not able to get the justice she deserved. And um, so, yeah, unalive by cop. And that's it exactly. That's exactly what it comes down to. And around 10 p.m. that day, Oakley Chief Paul Beard, along with Lieutenant Robert Roberts and Chief Inspector Arnold Threets, arrived at the Gabe residence. They informed them the DA was outside, okay, waiting to be invited in, letting them know what had happened. Probably one of the worst things they had to hear outside of the fact that they lost their daughter is that something like this, because you're left with all the questions. Even now, we are left with questions. Okay, they are left with so many questions. And so it's not like, well, the case is done, so everything's done. No, not by any means. And also, and on June 2nd, the next day at 11 a.m., there was a press conference at the Oakley City Hall where they announced the death of Marshall Curtis Jones. Family was there. Again, one of the most amazing things with this family is they were hand in hand with the police at all times. Okay, they did stuff together. They tried to support. Okay, just an amazing family, an amazing group of people, and to go through this day in and day out. And yeah, Anitra, the frustration of this type of outcome is just so much. Happy you're still here, AJ. And so that brings us up to this weekend. Okay, after that happened, that was pretty much the last of what we knew. I started actually a couple weeks ago. I started trying to do the whole timeline thing, and then on Friday, the word started coming out late at night, even by my standards in Hawaii, that they had found Alexis's remains. We had thought we had found them a couple of weeks before, and they turned out to be someone else's. But this time, it was her. We were informed, family, there's an amazing Facebook page group that the family has put together, and the family, Gwen posted what was going on, let everyone know. And everything was announced that there would be a press conference today, Monday, to let everyone know exactly what happened. And so all this information coming up here is stuff that came out today. So law enforcement from the beginning felt her remains would be in Amador County, specifically Jackson Road area. Again, if you go through that handwritten directions, he was giving everyone a map to the area he was taking her. So it was just a matter of finding the right place and how far off the road, and did he cut off earlier, things like that. And so they had been doing a lot of searching earlier than that. Okay, they really searched multiple areas. Looking in the Pioneer area, they were trying to find it extensively, looked, however, on Thursday, last Thursday. Okay, on November 3rd, Amador County contacted Oakley, Antioch Police Departments saying that they had human remains that had been discovered on Highway 16 near the town of Plymouth after they received an anonymous tip. Now, that sent many people off on internet, social media land, where people are like, oh, anonymous tip, is family member saying things like that. Well, we got a little bit more clarification on that today. And that's one reason why you always wait until you get facts, because, guys, our assumptions can take us down really wrong directions. Um, what turned out happened is there was a visitor, okay, who was visiting California, and he was from Alaska. And he would do metal detecting, you know. So he had gone out on the road and was metal detecting, and he came across what he thought looked like human remains. So at that point, he contacted the police to let them know. Now, to give you an idea, and this is what's so frustrating, this area was never investigated. I'm going to show you on one of the maps coming up here. It's in between a long open stretch between all the different directions. And, but even beyond that, if you look at this, she was found very close to the road. Okay, it was just pretty much a kind of pull off type of area there. And here's the map of the area itself. Now, what the map you're looking at, guys, actually shows all the directions. All those little squares that you're seeing, the colored circles with the squares in them, are the different directions mentioned in his note, in his directions. And between those two circles with the square is one long stretch of highway right there. She was found in that area. So Friday, after being told, okay, it was really late at night on Thursday when all this was coming together, so they pretty much made that whole area safe, okay, surrounded it so nothing could happen and all that until the next morning when they can go about doing things. They did send search canines out to the area to canvass the area. They did not find any additional human remains. They did find the one amount, okay, the one bag or location or whatever you want to call it. That evening, Friday evening, the remains were taken into the coroner's office and all, and a forensic odontologist, for those of you, odontology is looking at teeth, and was able to identify the remains as Alexis's remains based off of her most recent dental records. Now, without stating beyond that, that gives you an idea of what sort of remains they found. Um, so no problem, Princess Megan, no problem. To find that, they definitely jaw, skull. I don't know, but it had to have something with teeth. And they were able to use the most recent dental records to find out exactly who it was. And it was her. They did find additional things in that area. Those things included her earrings. Those earrings are actually exact matches to earrings that she was wearing in pictures. So, verification, her earrings. Also, remnants of black garbage bags and duct tape. So, again, we're going back to checking off all the red flags that we had earlier. The black garbage bags that were taken into his mom's house and then put back into the car later. Okay, black garbage bags and duct tape. Um, The problem is they don't have all of the remains. Okay, again, suspicion is he, in the words of the press conference today, it became clear that her remains were, quote, separated from one another and scattered into several areas. So there are more remains of hers out there. And until they have found all of those, the family isn't stopping. You can't stop looking for your loved one just because you have part of them. You want all of them to be safe. You want all of them to be near you. And that's what they will be looking at and pushing towards. The press conference itself happened today, like I said. Law enforcement was there. Yeah, you can't stop. You can't stop Elizabeth, exactly. No one would blame them for not wanting to ever stop. I think every one of us would push on and on and on. And so the press conference had representatives from Oakley PD, Antioch PD, family representatives. You had Gwen there, you had brothers there, you had the whole family, except, as I mentioned earlier, her mom, Rowena, was not there because she is in the Philippines at the funeral for her father right now. So, as someone who, when my dad passed away, my brother was in Vietnam on vacation. And being far away from your family like that, when things like this is going on, my heart just goes out to her and her whole family because you want to lean on each other. And so, um, and yeah, Elizabeth, when you're in a situation like this, what else do you do? Holidays are not, we're going into Thanksgiving coming up soon. Christmas, first Christmas without their daughter, without their sister. Her dad would talk about how she was the loud one in the family. Okay, so it's so quiet now because she's not there to fill in all the extra quiet times, to dance, to play around, to do things like that. So there was a statement made that Marshall was the only person. So the question did come up about other people being involved in things. So police did state that Marshall was the only person responsible for Alexis's death. Another person had been arrested in the case, but there was not enough evidence to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that a crime was committed by that person. I can tell you guys this. I don't think I'm reading into this too much when I say this. I was looking at the the law enforcement officials as they were saying these things, and you could see it was killing them to have to say this. You could see they knew they had to say those words, but they didn't want to say them. They truly were hoping they'd be able to pull it all together for the family. And you could see it in their face. You could see the pain. You could see just that hope that they could have actually not left it the way that it's got this open end right now. And so agree, Anitra. And it is true. At least they have part of her that they can go visit. Like I said, okay, how we do it here, we go over to the cemetery with food and we sit and we talk story, okay, as a family with, okay, graveside. They have that ability now. And, but they're still going to want more. And I don't blame that for that. Alexis's father did remind everyone they are going to continue searching. The search does not stop now. Okay, just because part of her has been found does not mean it's over. They won't stop until the rest of her remains are found and they can bring her home completely. He acknowledged the community, how many people who were there as part of all this to bring her home. Oh, I was wrong earlier when I said 300. 700 people who signed up for the search. 700 people who gave their free time on weekends, on dates where not even a real official search was being done. And they were going on to the Facebook group and saying, okay, gang, I'm looking in this area. And they post a picture from Google Maps. Okay, 700 people. 16,000 who were supporting them on their Facebook group that the family had put together. Okay, many of you guys are in that group. People who were there supporting, sharing out a poster, okay, handing out posters, making sure that could you get her poster posted in different areas of the state, things like that. Okay, yeah, exactly, Elizabeth. 700 people gives you hope for humanity. I mean, that is a community that comes together. Okay, it's amazing to see people who do that. And nowadays, it's great. So the search will continue. Okay, justice for Alexis Gabe becomes the chant from here on out. Okay, justice can be legal, but one thing justice definitely is to have all of her where her family can find her, where they don't have to worry. God, I don't want to say this out loud, but they don't have to worry about the fact that she's in the woods, partially in the woods where there's animals and stuff like that, gang. Okay, I'm not saying anything that hasn't gone through, I'm sure, the family's mind, but that's justice, bringing her home. And a couple things that are going to be happening, the family is putting together. There will be a candlelight vigil. I'm not sure about virtual. I'll let you know if they do create a virtual candlelight vigil also. But December 9th, they're going to be doing one at the Civic Center, I think they said. There's also going to be a celebration of life on January 28th, 2 days after the day she went missing. Um, that celebration of life, I guarantee you, many of us here will be covering stuff about that. They are still needing people. They need volunteers. They need help. They need some of the stuff that they do, Cassie, some of the things that they do. And the reason why people will say a lot of times, well, why do they need money? Okay, why do they need funds for stuff like this? Well, they already found part of her. Okay, so they don't need it. Yes, people are still going to be searching. And when you do searches, there's financial charges to those things. You want to provide water, food, okay, posters, things like that to let advertise. There's money that is needed for these things. So I am including here, and plus for the big, okay, the big celebration of life and stuff like that, candles for candlelight vigil. Um, so if anyone is in the area and would like to volunteer in any way, please contact them at volunteersforalexis@gmail.com. I'm sure they're still going to be doing that. There is also a GoFundMe that is still active. At last I checked, I think all this stuff is still active. You can go there and you can donate towards the GoFundMe. At one time, there was a reward for finding her. Okay, as her dad said, people are still willing to look for her now, even though they're not interested in the rewards and all. They just want to bring her home. And however, I did want to say things that just amaze me. That reward, half of it was donated by an anonymous person, someone who didn't need their name known. They just wanted to do something they could for the family. And the last address that you see there, alexisgabe.bigcartel.com, is for their store. They sell a lot of things, and right now I would not be surprised if a lot of things are sold. But they sell t-shirts, stickers. They do all sorts of stuff there. Her mom used to make jewelry and stuff like that. All sorts of amazing things out there. So check that out. That's another way you can support justice for Alexis. Okay, by doing those things. Um, I'm sure they're going to need these things as time goes on. And I may be wrong, gang. Knowing what I know about this family so far, watching how they have led with grace, okay, and love and caring for so many people while they themselves were going through hell, I would not be surprised to see them turn this into something very much like the Class family did. So, in supporting them, who knows? You may be supporting them starting up something that will help other families in the future. So, if you guys can help us out with that. I wanted to, AJ, thank you so much for all of those. Actually, before I go on with this last bit here, to all of you guys who are starting up your channels right now or helping to share things on your community page, thank you. Okay, because all it takes is one person to see the right poster. That's all it takes. And I wanted to close with this poem. This is how I closed the first time I covered her story back in February. I came across this poster, this poem that her family had shared, and it it hit something in me from the beginning. And it's always been in the back of my head. And I came across it as I was looking for pictures, and you can see pictures here of her dad with her pillow. Okay, people who've gone and supported her. One of the things I wanted to share with you is you see the picture there of the cross, and there's something black in the middle of all that white. Guys, in in certain cultures, Filipino culture, Asian cultures, things like that, moths are very representative of things. Whenever I would lose a resident of ours, they pass away, it never failed. A big moth would show up to remind us that they're there. And we actually would start believing that we were being visited by them saying thanks, them coming and letting us know that we weren't all alone. What you're looking at there is, if I remember right, her grandfather's funeral, the wake. Okay, her mom was there, and they looked up. Was it 3 o'clock a.m. or something? They looked up and they saw this moth, and it's a video, this moth flying around. And they knew right then and there, like cardinals, exactly, Elizabeth, exactly. Okay, they knew right then and there she was there. She was with her mom right then and there. She was with the rest of her family when they were saying goodbye to their grandfather. And so I wanted to share that because it's I've seen it too many times in my life, gang. I really have. So I want to just first of all thank you guys all for coming. Um, I'm going to end with this poem the way I did the first video I did last February. But I do want to thank you guys so much for joining. I know this was a different Missing Mondays thing, but she deserves justice. Okay. Her family deserves comfort. And people need to know her story. And so the missing star. The star shines so bright in the darkest of places, all mixing together. It's so hard to notice when one no longer shines. When one goes unnoticed, no one seems to panic. To all possible interactions, to those who wish to dim the light of those stars, their light may fade, but it never goes away. To those who wish to dim the light, stars are never alone. To the missing star, you will be found. Thank you guys all so much. I'll talk to you later. Aloha. Mahalo.